The police stalking and harassment that I've been facing over the last 2 years. It started back in San Marcos. I was attending Texas State University, and I reported a professor that was displaying very inappropriate behavior towards me and another student in his class. After reporting him, making the initial report with the dean, a few of my other professors went into the grade system and started to drop my grades as if an indirect threat that if I were to go through with the official report, that they would do something to my grades for that semester. That scared me so much that I went ahead and I dropped the report against the professor. After that, I was viciously bullied by the staff at the school, and that's when the police stalking and harassment began. The police in the town of San Marcos would tailgate me, not stop me, follow me all around the town. If they were not following me, they would be posted outside of the establishment where I was. This scared me so much. I've seen so many things in the media regarding the police and what they're capable of, that I decided to move out of the town of San Marcos to Houston. After moving to Houston, the same occurrences followed me there. I even tried moving out of the state. That led to no avail as well. The police proceeded to do the same thing in LA.
These people are placed into a harassment program. There's basically an experiment, a very, very grisly experiment. Unfortunately, there are elements within our government, which we refer to as a deep state, that are very corrupted, unfortunately. And these groups are going to extremes to try to silence criticism of certain government programs and certain government efforts. And we've documented a lot of that on our website. There are basically three elements to the program, and I'm simplifying somewhat because it gets actually fairly complex. But there are diagrams on our homepage. I encourage folks to look those up because they're very self-explanatory. So among our more than 3,000 members are people that are harassed with what we call gang stalking. What that means is fusion centers all over the United States, and there are fusion centers in Europe and Asia as well, that are organizing and directing harassment of citizens. Many of these people are political activists. In my case, I'm a government whistleblower. That's the reason that I believe I was targeted. And sometimes random people are chosen. And unfortunately, it can be so disturbing for these people that some of them end up committing suicide. Very, very disturbing program run by our government.
And then they would surveil the person to death. All you needed, according to Barack Obama in 2013, was two people saying that you were this or that. You're a bank robber, you're whatever. All you needed was two people to say that and swear to it. There was no proof necessary. There was no finding out if those people perhaps had an ulterior motive. Did they have a grudge? Once you ask the Fusion Center to target someone, they put in a request to the main Fusion Center, which I'm not sure which one that is. It could very well be the DC one, but I'm not sure. But you can put in a request for a false dossier to be written up on the person and given to the Fusion Center nearest that person. They take it to their civilian vigilantes, InfraGard and others, and then they take it to them and say, okay, this is a person we're going to be stalking and harassing 24/7. This is the supposed crime. So they have a never-ending investigation, which actually includes not only 24/7 harassment, but it can include slitting your tires, arranging car accidents, murdering or stealing your pets, sabotaging your car so that you have to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on car repair, going to your job and telling your boss that you're a horrible person, he needs to fire you. And of course, they are adding people onto the watch list to make it appear there are many more threats than there are, for the sake of money and for the sake of continuing their careers. That basically it's creating a police state when we don't need one.
It is illegal to have non-terrorists on a terrorist database. That's a principal claim. The second claim also is, there's also for damages. And one of our plaintiffs, who is Dr. Lambert, he is I think he's like the first civilian that was diagnosed with Havana syndrome by Dr. Hoffer in Miami.
But so their logic in terms of why they're doing this is experimentation purposes. Is that the logic of this program?
Yes, well, you know, I have learned a lot. I only arrived to targeted justice in September, but it has been like an intensive 10-hour seminar for me, and I am very grateful for that. The goal of the program is to get you to kill yourself.
Was an intelligence analyst at the National Security Agency, where I ended up writing a series of top secret reports that lasted about 6 months to help Operation Iraqi Freedom, which I thought at the time was legitimate, but it turns out it wasn't particularly. But those reports saved an estimated 2,000 lives, according to the Pentagon, and according to top NSA management. And my upper boss, not my immediate one, but my upper boss thought, well, what the heck? Why should we give this older woman a double promotion and credit for these reports when I can just credit the woman I'm sleeping with at work? So that's what he did, and I was told that the promotion I was considered for was turned down, and I was fine with that. But then later, you know, about a year or two later, I found out, no, somebody else got my promotion. So I actually went to the Inspector General and almost immediately attacked. And to make a long story short, basically they accused me of mysterious breaches, which they couldn't be bothered to tell me what they were, and then forced me out of NSA. So, and that was after a defamation campaign, and it was after NSA security stalking and harassing me 24/7, following me from my home to work and back, and all around grocery stores, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a very familiar pattern to me. They did fire me, but luckily I fought and got a partial retirement, and I proceeded to sue them. So for, I would say they fired me about 2010, and until about 2015, after having stalked and harassed me about 4 years, they left me alone for a while until 2015, when my lawyer came up with a request to subpoena paperwork that would indicate a top NSA SES manager had actually been breaking into my house. And they were not happy that I had ferreted him out. So I had moved to Florida, and in Florida, apparently, NSA came down and talked to the Fusion Center, and so they had people stalking and harassing me 24/7. And
I worked as a legal secretary at Hogan and Hartson in Washington, D.C. It is now called Hogan Lovells. Attorney Jan McDavid made a client mistake that she tried to blame on me. I then refused to work for Miss McDavid. Shortly thereafter, strange and inexplicable events occurred on my job, and after being fired, followed me to my home and to all my travels. Firm administrator of Hogan Lovells are responsible for my targeting. I believe to protect Miss McDavid's reputation, a phone call was made. To whom and why they did this to me, I truly just speculate. Gang stalking and harassment.
I was being harassed by the police department along with noise campaign. I mean, for a whole year. Every time I left my house, I was bombarded with noise, which led me to have a psychological breakdown. I've been job mobbed. I've been put into what I call a assassination type program. Okay, I've been villainized.
The United States government and what it will do to people who exercise their rights according to the Bill of Rights that we all are supposed to have. We don't have it anymore because, of course, the War of Terror has shredded the Bill of Rights. So what we have come to see and experience generation after generation now is abuse of authority, such that today we have agents who represent the government, and that government is out of control.
I'm here.
female looking person is one of the